Good afternoon, Kristen Roupenian.
Yes.
Thank you for having accepted this interview with lecturer Madotefar. We are pleased to be given the opportunity to ask you a few questions regarding your last book, Avoue que tu en meurs d'envie. I think the translation, you know what you want?
You know you want this,
Okay.
yeah.
Published by Robert Laffont. What did you want to write a book of short stories? Why?
Well, I have always, since I've been writing consistently, which has been over the last 6 or 7 years, I have always been working on longer projects, and then every once in a while, a short story would just kind of take over my brain, and I would write it, usually in a period of kind of compressed intensity. And so the truth is, I didn't know, I for a long time I thought the first book that I wrote would be a novel. But I was writing short stories, and I at one point realized I had enough stories to make a collection. But even so, it's hard to sell a collection. It's not always as easy of a pitch. And so it was a real kind of miracle when the short story that I wrote, Capers, and when it went viral, I had an opportunity to sort of introduce myself to the world with short fiction. And I'm really glad and grateful that I was able to.
Because it's a work more difficult, the kind of the short story.
Yeah.
As a novel.
Yeah, I mean, in different ways. I think they each have their own challenges and rewards. I think for me, what a short story offers is the chance to have, both in the writing and then in the reading, have there be a sort of single contained experience that you can sort of take one deep breath, and sort of hold it until the story is over. And that intensity and that kind of compression, I think it's hard, to pull off. But when it works, it can be the most satisfying reading experience. Yeah. And so, but at the same time, then with a collection, you have a chance to sort of make essentially a mixtape, right? Where you have all these different stories that do slightly different things, and then hopefully the end result is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, you had a first experience with Capers in newspaper or a magazine?
Yeah, it was in the magazine The New Yorker.
New Yorker, so the result was very good.
Yeah, it drew a really strong reaction. I think some people had a really positive response to it, other people didn't, but what was really extraordinary was that everybody who read it sort of wanted to talk about how they felt, and so it became part of a really intense and fascinating conversation. So, yeah, and
cool. So that indulged you to
exactly,
keep on,
yeah.
How long time did you spend to write this book?
I think I wrote the first draft of the oldest story in the collection. I guess probably 6 or 7 years ago now.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've been working on the stories off and on for a long time. But that one is the Night Runner, the oldest one. I also revised for the longest time, so I was still working on it over time. And the most recent one was Death Wish. I wrote after this collection had sold. So the majority of them were written, probably I wrote most of them probably 2 or 3 years ago, but with a range of quite a bit over a few years.
How did you get the inspiration of these different short stories?
Most of the stories, almost every story I write starts with I would say a feeling, a sense of kind of, usually something will have happened that is either unsettling or upsetting or just surprising. And I'll have and my brain will start obsessively thinking about it, and then if I'm lucky, I can something will come to me that's an idea for a story that often has nothing to do objectively with what has happened in my real life, but somehow by writing the story I can think through what has actually happened. And so sometimes it's a bad date or a fight or just somebody acting in a way that's confusing to me, but from there this entire story grows that often ends up in a very different place, and a much darker place usually than the actual event.
What was your point in exploring the phantasm of people?
I mean, I don't always know that I have a point when I start. I think you discover the point as you're writing. For me, I wanted to write a book that was I always have wanted to write books that are the kinds of books that I want to read. And for me, I love stories that keep you on your toes, that kind of knock you off balance, and where you truly don't know what could happen. And I feel like introducing kind of fantastic elements gives people that experience where you truly don't know what is possible. And I think that's an exciting feeling.
Yeah. You wanted to see what happens if they go forward to them.
If they go for what?
Forward.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of the stories, they escalate really fast, and there's a sort of movement. It's like, yeah, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? What's the darkest possible outcome? And I feel like by working in that space of extremes, you can actually see maybe the more realistic. It throws like this kind of light on the actual mundane experiences, right? If you have like a burst of selfishness or a burst of anger, usually in real life the consequences won't be monsters and death. But maybe if you read a story that lets you have that experience, you see your own life a little.
Well, it's your point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have different points
of
view.
Of course.
But phantasm.
Yeah.
So you chose.
Yeah.
Some are very dark.
Yeah.
What was your favorite story in your book?
It really varies. Different ones have been my favorite at different times. I was in the middle of working on The Good Guy, the long novella in the middle of the book when when Cat Person went viral. And when that happened, part of me thought, oh my god, I'm never going to write anything again. And so the fact that I was able to go back and finish that story and feel satisfied with it was really, really lucky and felt good. And so I feel proud of that one. But really, I could make the case for any of them.
Did you meet those good guy?
He's not real. I mean, the thing is, they're always me. Like in some ways, all of the characters take bits and pieces of other people and then have a huge chunk of my own experience in them. And I feel like that work is like the whole work of the story is to figure out what about this kind of person might also be something that I also feel.
I thought about a story about a couple and the girl go to bed, but she was like that, but she didn't know why.
And it's like
it's life.
Yeah, it's life, and then other things mixed in, right?
Yeah. So your writing seemed to be a bit stressing for the reader.
Okay.
Yeah. Why did you choose this way?
I mean, it's funny. I think when you write, you can only write for readers who like the same things you do, right? And I think I am a reader who likes an intense experience. I'm a horror movie fan. I like scary movies. I like scary stories. I was a huge Stephen King fan growing up. Yeah, and I feel like that level of intensity and discomfort, it's always a balance, right? If someone gets too uncomfortable, they're going to close the book and walk away, and then you've lost them. But the goal is to give them an experience that, the idea I always have is, peering through your fingers, right? You can't stop watching, but you really want to watch. And that I love. And so I feel like not every story might be for everyone, and there might be some people for whom they're like, this is not the collection for me, but for the people who like it, I think.
Sometimes I was stressed.
Yeah.
I don't want to read more.
Yeah.
So you combine both realistic and horrific situations.
Yeah.
What did you introduce unrealistic situations, like the novel of the birthday?
Oh, yeah.
It's a monster, I don't know, massive.
Right.
Yeah.
Say, why did I do it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was important to me to have kind of early in the collection a couple of stories that used the fantastical elements, so that then at every point when you're reading even the more realist stories, you genuinely didn't know what was going to happen. And I feel like so for example in Bad Boy, right, like the first story is like really graphic, it's really extreme, it's really scary, I hope. And then
about couple.
Yeah, about the couple, right? I feel like you read that story and then you read Cat Person, you might think, okay, is he gonna murder her? You know, and that's a possibility. Or if you read Sardines, the one with the monster, you might think, oh, is he really like a cat person monster? You know, you don't know.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that sense of, I don't know what kind of story I'm in, raises the tension in all the stories, because all of the possibilities are available.
But at the end, it was a coup de théâtre.
It was a what?
Coup de théâtre.
Yeah, exactly. And in like different ways, you're always aiming for that feeling of like, oh my god. And sometimes it's an actual monster, and other times it's a person just acting like a jerk.
Yes. But it happens in USA.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just normal, actually.
Yeah. I ask you about, how did you imagine all these stories? Because, you told me. Finally, did you have any message to deliver through your book, for example?
No, I mean, I think it's sort of whenever you start from, when you're writing, you can't start from a place of having a message, or it'll just feel like you're lecturing, right? Lecturing, actually, yeah. But I do, so I think first what I always want is for people to have an experience, to have that intense experience. And I feel like, I think of it as like a gift, like it's something that people might want. But after that, I feel like a really good story, a story that's effective, makes you look at the world, and then specifically at yourself in a kind of like different light, that maybe after you read all of the stories, for a little while you might move through the world being like, am I as good a person as I thought I was? Or are there things that are in me that are maybe messier and uglier and scarier that I'm not acknowledging? And I feel like that, if even like little bits of the book can give people that perspective on themselves, then it's like, that's a satisfying reading experience.
I thought about the series, maybe you know, the series Black Mirror.
Yeah,
I thought
exactly.
about that when I read your book.
That's cool. I'm flattered by that. I love Black Mirror.
Black Mirror.
Yeah. Oh God. Exactly. Yeah. That's which literally is like you look at yourself in the mirror, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and what about your next project?
I'm working a few different things. My contract is for a novel, so the next book will be a novel, but I'm still not sure and not going to talk about it.
I know exercise.
Yeah, like a full, and a novel exercise, and then I'm also working on a screenplay.
Is it easy?
A novel?
From a short story to a novel? Or?
No, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
And novels, I think, I don't know, I feel like because I'm in it right now, I'm really paying attention to how hard novels are, but like you said, they're both hard in different ways.
But it's hard a short story because you have to define the personality, the psychology of the characters just before and very short time.
Yeah.
So you have to be very precise.
You can make more mistakes in a novel, I think. Do you know what I mean? But you have more space to do other things also.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But the plot must be longer.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Kristen.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah.